They say love makes a man weak, but Seo Joon-Hwan was never weak. He built his empire in the shadows of Busan, not with diplomacy or charm, but with silence and fear. The kind of fear that made CEOs sweat through expensive suits. The kind that made politicians delete his number from their phones while keeping it memorized. He doesn't date. He doesn't fall in love. He doesn't keep women around for comfort or companionship. He keeps power. He keeps control. He keeps secrets that could topple governments. Before we dive into this story of obsession, possession, and a black woman who became the only thing a ruthless man couldn't control, hit that subscribe button and smash that notification bell. Because what happens when a man who's never loved anything suddenly can't let someone go? When possession becomes the closest thing to devotion he'll ever know? You absolutely need to see this. So when Seo Joon-Hwan started watching me, Desi Jane, a 22-year-old financial analyst fresh out of Wharton, who'd made the mistake of being too good at my job, it wasn't love. It wasn't romance. It wasn't the beginning of some fairy tale. It was possession. Cold, calculated, absolute possession. And possession, that's far more dangerous than love. Because love has limits. Love has boundaries. Love can let go. But possession holds on until everything burns. I didn't know it that first night when I walked into his world, didn't know that presenting one financial proposal would change my entire life, didn't know that the man behind the bulletproof glass was about to decide I belonged to him. And once Seo Joon-Hwan decides something, the universe bends to make it true. I first saw him through bulletproof glass on the top floor of an exclusive private club in Busan's financial district, the kind of place that doesn't have a sign, doesn't advertise, doesn't want to be found. Gold accent lights cast shadows across velvet-lined walls, crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than my year's salary, and silence. The heavy, oppressive silence of men who whispered when they conducted business, because their business could never see daylight. Seo Joon-Hwan. I'd heard the name. Everyone in international finance had. 36 years old, self-made billionaire, CEO of Seo Group Holdings, a conglomerate with fingers in shipping, real estate, technology, and several industries that weren't listed on any public documents. Tall, maybe 6'2", wearing an impeccable black suit that was definitely custom Brioni. Dark hair styled with precision, not a strand out of place. And his eyes, they were the color of storm clouds, almost silver under the club's lighting. Cold, assessing, missing nothing. He didn't smile when he entered the room, didn't acknowledge the 8 men who stood slightly straighter when he passed. He observed, calculated, controlled the room's oxygen just by existing in it. I was there to present a financial restructuring proposal to one of his subsidiary companies. My firm had been trying to land Seo Group as a client for 2 years. I'd spent 6 weeks preparing this presentation, running numbers until my eyes blurred, building models that could withstand any scrutiny. I was good at my job. Excellent, actually. I didn't get where I was by being intimidated by powerful men. So when I stood at the front of that conference room, my natural hair pulled back in a professional bun, wearing my best suit, I presented with confidence, clear data, solid projections, no filler, no fluff, just numbers that spoke for themselves. Halfway through my presentation on liquidity optimization, he interrupted. Just one word. Stop. The room froze. Every executive at the table went rigid. I stopped mid-sentence, my laser pointer still aimed at the projection screen. Seo Joon-Hwan hadn't moved, hadn't even looked up from the report in front of him. Then, quietly, almost casually, everyone out. The room emptied in seconds. 8 men in expensive suits gathering their materials, not making eye contact, moving like they'd practiced this evacuation. The door closed with a soft click. Now it was just him and me. The silence stretched, heavy and deliberate. I didn't fill it. I'd learned that powerful people use silence as a weapon, and the first person to speak usually loses. Finally, he looked up, those silver-gray eyes fixed on me with an intensity that felt physical, and that's when everything changed. What Desi Jane didn't know was that Seo Joon-Hwan had already made his decision. In the 30 seconds of watching her present, confident, brilliant, unflinching, he'd decided she was his. Not to hire, not to recruit, to possess. And what he possessed, he kept, forever. "You're not afraid," he observed. His voice was smooth, controlled, the kind that never needed to be raised to command attention. "Should I be?" I asked, meeting his gaze directly. A pause. He set down the report, stood slowly, each movement precise and intentional. He walked closer, and I noticed things I'd missed from across the room. A small scar above his left eyebrow, custom platinum cufflinks, the complete absence of jewelry otherwise, no watch, no rings, nothing that could be grabbed in a fight. "Yes," he said simply, "most people are." But I didn't look away, didn't step back, didn't show the nervousness crawling up my spine. I'd dealt with powerful men before. I knew the game. Show weakness, and they'll exploit it. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something dark and woody, expensive and subtle. "Your analysis is flawed," he said flatly. My stomach dropped, but I kept my expression neutral. "In what way?" "You're assuming market stability for the next 18 months. That's optimistic. Current trends don't account for variables you don't have clearance to know about." That was a power play, a reminder that he operated on a level I couldn't access. "Then, perhaps," I said carefully, "you should grant me that clearance. Can't optimize what I can't see." Something shifted in his expression. Not warmth, I'd learn he was incapable of that, but interest, calculation, like he was solving an equation and I'd just become a more interesting variable. "You don't back down," he observed. "Should I?" His head tilted slightly. "No." Then he did something that would change my life forever. "You work for me now." It wasn't a question, wasn't an offer. It was a decision he'd made, and Seo Joon-Hwan's decisions weren't negotiable. I should have said no, should have walked out, should have seen the warning signs screaming at me. But instead, I heard myself say, "I haven't accepted any offer." His lips curved. Not quite a smile, something colder, more certain. "You will." 3 days later, a hand-delivered envelope arrived at my apartment, an apartment I'd never given anyone the address to. Inside was a contract, 20 pages of legal language, but the key points were crystal clear. Triple my current salary, comprehensive benefits including housing and security detail, and a clause about discretionary relocation as needed. The salary was too high, the contract too restrictive, and that relocation clause felt more like ownership than employment. But Desi Jane went to that meeting anyway, because ambition is a powerful drug, and Seo Joon-Hwan knew exactly which drugs to offer. What she didn't know yet was that the contract wasn't just for her work. It was for her entire life, and he'd already decided every clause, every term, every way he'd restructure her existence around his. Working for Seo Joon-Hwan meant late nights that bled into early mornings, private meetings in conference rooms that weren't listed on any building directory, confidential spreadsheets tracking money flows through shell companies in the Cayman Islands, Singapore, Dubai, numbers that told stories I wasn't sure I wanted to understand, but he'd promised transparency, and he delivered. I saw everything. Every transaction, every holding, every carefully structured deal that danced along the line between legal and strategically ambiguous. The work itself was fascinating, challenging. I was restructuring financial divisions for a multinational empire, identifying inefficiencies, plugging leaks, optimizing systems that moved billions of dollars across borders. I was good at it, better than good. Within 2 weeks, I'd identified $17 million in unnecessary overhead. Within a month, I'd restructured 3 subsidiary companies to improve their profit margins by 32%. Joon-Hwan noticed. He noticed everything. But he never touched me, never flirted, never crossed any professional line. In meetings, he was cold, efficient, demanding. He expected perfection and accepted nothing less. Our interactions were purely business. And yet, things started changing around me. Small things at first. A driver appeared one morning. "Mr. Seo has assigned you to me," the man said in perfect English, standing beside a black Mercedes. "I didn't request a driver," I protested. "Mr. Seo determined it was necessary." Then security detail. 2 men, always 2, who appeared whenever I left the building. They maintained distance, professional and unobtrusive, but always there, watching, protecting. When I confronted Joon-Hwan about it, he barely looked up from his laptop. "You work late, Busan can be dangerous, it's a reasonable precaution. I've lived here for 2 years without incident, and now you work for me. Different variables." Like I was a mathematical equation he was optimizing. Then my apartment lease was terminated. I came home one evening to find a notice on my door and a message on my phone, not from my landlord, from Joon-Hwan's assistant. "Your apartment lease has been bought out. Moving arrangements have been made. Your new residence is ready." I stormed into his office the next morning, not bothering to knock. "You can't just relocate me without asking." He looked up from his desk, expression completely calm. "You signed a contract with a relocation clause. Discretionary relocation. This isn't discretionary. This is you controlling where I live. Your previous apartment had inadequate security. The building had 12 different access points. The locks were standard grade, and the windows were fine. I liked my apartment." His gaze hardened slightly. "I don't." That was when I understood, really understood. This wasn't protection, this was possession. "Where exactly am I being relocated to?" I demanded. "The residence tower, 3 floors below my penthouse." My stomach dropped. He was moving me into his building, not just near him, under him, in his space, in his world, in his control. And the terrifying part of me didn't hate it. Desi Jane moved into the luxury apartment that night, into a space she didn't choose, with furniture she didn't pick, 3 floors below a man who'd decided she belonged to him. And every night, lying in that expensive bed, she wondered, when did accepting a job become accepting ownership? And more importantly, why wasn't she running? It happened at a charity gala, one of those events that was really about power, not philanthropy. Politicians schmoozing with business leaders, deals being made over champagne and whispered conversations. Joon-Hwan attended because appearances mattered. I attended because he'd informed me, not asked, informed, that my presence was required. The dress had appeared in my apartment that afternoon. Midnight blue silk that fit perfectly. Of course it did. He somehow knew my measurements. Elegant, sophisticated. When I emerged from my apartment, Joon-Hwan was waiting by the elevator. Black tuxedo. Perfect. Cold. His eyes traveled over me once, just once, but something flickered in them before the mask returned. Acceptable, he said. Just that. Nothing more. At the event, he was pulled into conversations immediately. Political donors, business rivals, everyone wanting a moment of Seo Joon-Hwan's time. I drifted toward the bar, grateful for a moment alone. That's when Kim Tae-yang approached, 30-something, handsome in an obvious way, son of a prominent politician. Harmless, charming. We chatted, just polite conversation. At some point, he touched my arm while laughing at something I'd said. Light, casual, meaningless. But I felt it, the shift in the room's temperature. I glanced across the gala and saw Joon-Hwan watching, expression unreadable, eyes locked on Tae-Yang's hand on my arm. Then he looked away, returning to his conversation like nothing had happened. 3 days later, Kim Tae-Yang's company was under investigation. Tax fraud, suspicious international transactions, frozen accounts. The news broke during my morning briefing. I stormed into Joon-Hwan's office without knocking. "You destroyed him," I said, voice shaking with anger. He didn't even look up from his computer. "Who?" "Kim Tae-Yang, the politician's son. His company is being investigated for tax fraud. Yes, they were careless. He flirted with me at the gala." Now Joon-Hwan looked up, those silver-gray eyes fixed on me with absolute calm. "Is that what you call it, flirting?" "It was harmless conversation." "He touched your waist." Not a question, a statement. My pulse quickened. "You were watching?" "I watch everything that belongs to me." The words landed like a physical blow. Everything that belongs to me, not everything that concerns me, not my employees. Everything that belongs to me. "I don't belong to you," I said, but my voice wavered. He stood slowly, moving around the desk with deliberate steps, each one measured, controlled. "You live in my building, work in my office, move with my security detail, wear clothes I provide, attend events on my arm." He stopped close, too close. His hand rose, fingers hovering near my jaw, but not touching, just close enough to feel the heat of his skin. "You're already inside my sphere of influence, inside my protection, inside my control." The air felt thick, suffocating. "And you think that means you are mine?" His head tilted slightly. "I don't think." A pause, those eyes boring into mine. "I decide." "You can't just decide someone belongs to you." "Can't I?" His voice was soft now, dangerous. "I decided you would work for me. You do. I decided you would move into my building. You did. I decided that anyone who touches you would face consequences, and they do." My breathing was uneven. "That's not possession. That's what? Protection? Security? Care?" He leaned in slightly, close enough to feel his breath. "No, it's possession, and the sooner you accept that, the easier this becomes." Kim Tae-Yang's company collapsed within a month. His father resigned from politics in disgrace. The family's reputation was destroyed, and every powerful person in Busan learned a lesson. Seo Joon-Hwan's people were untouchable, especially the black woman with the brilliant mind who'd somehow become the most valuable and most protected asset in his empire. One night, everything changed. I was working late in my apartment, the luxury prison 3 floors below Joon-Hwan's penthouse, when I heard it. Gunshots. Not distant, close, inside the building. My heart stopped. Training I didn't know I'd internalized kicked in. I moved away from the windows, grabbed my phone, started to dial security. The door to my apartment flew open. Not broken, opened, with a key. Joon-Hwan strode in, and I barely recognized him. Blood on his sleeve, gun in his right hand, his perfect hair disheveled, tie gone, jacket discarded, his eyes wild in a way I'd never seen. Behind him, I could hear shouting, more gunshots, security teams responding. "What's happening?" I demanded. Rival faction, internal betrayal. Someone leaked the building's security codes. His eyes scanned my apartment, checking windows, exits, vulnerabilities. "You need to come with me, now." "I need to, now." The command in his voice left no room for argument. He grabbed my arm, the first time he'd ever truly touched me, and pulled me toward the door. Not rough, but firm, absolute. We moved into the hallway where his security team was engaged with 3 men I didn't recognize. The violence was efficient, brutal, professional. Joon-Hwan shielded my body with his, moving us toward the private elevator while his men handled the threat. We made it inside. The doors closed. We were rising toward his penthouse. That's when I saw it. More blood seeping through his shirt sleeve. "You're hurt," I said, reaching for him. "It's nothing." But I grabbed his arm anyway, pulling back the torn fabric. A gunshot graze. Not deep, but bleeding. "This is not nothing. Desi, you were shot." Something in my voice, the fear, the concern, made him stop, made him really look at me. "I'm fine," he said, but gentler now. "You could have been killed, but I wasn't, because you were protecting me." The realization hit like a physical blow. You got shot protecting me. His jaw tightened. "It's my responsibility." "No," I shook my head. "No, your responsibility is your company, your empire, you." The word cut through everything. My responsibility is you. The elevator reached his penthouse. The doors opened to organized chaos. More security, medical personnel, his second-in-command giving rapid orders in Korean. But Joon-Hwan didn't move. He just stood there, hand still on my arm, looking at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not cold, not calculating, vulnerable. When I heard the breach alarm, and I saw it was your floor, for the first time in my life I felt fear. The admission seemed to cost him. Real fear, not strategic concern, not calculated risk assessment. Fear. My heart was hammering. "Joon-Hwan." I was in a meeting, top floor. When the alert came through, I left. Didn't finish the negotiation, didn't secure the exit, didn't follow protocol. I just went, because the thought of someone reaching you before I did. He stopped, composed himself, that mask of control trying to slide back into place, but it didn't quite fit anymore. I could see the cracks. "That's when I knew," he continued, voice barely above a whisper, "that you're not just an asset. Not just someone I protect because you're valuable to my organization." His hand moved from my arm to cup my face. First time, real, intentional touch. "You make me unstable." Because Desi Jane realized something terrifying that night. Seo Joon-Hwan wasn't possessive because he was controlling. He was possessive because he was terrified. Terrified of losing the one thing in his carefully constructed empire that he couldn't rebuild or replace or control. He wasn't keeping her because he could. He was keeping her because he couldn't survive losing her. I tried to resign 2 weeks later. The attack had been neutralized, the internal betrayal handled. I didn't ask how. The building's security upgraded to something that resembled a fortress. Everything was back to normal. Except it wasn't. Because I couldn't stop thinking about that moment in the elevator. About his fear. About the blood on his sleeve. About the way he'd touched my face like I was something precious. It was too much. Too intense. Too dangerous. So I wrote a formal resignation letter. Professional. Clean. Cited philosophical differences and career trajectory concerns. Gave 4 weeks' notice as per the contract. I delivered it to his office myself. He read it in silence, expression unreadable, then set it down and looked at me. No. Just that. One word. It's not a request, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'm resigning. The contract allows for... The contract has a 3-year commitment with severe financial penalties for early termination. I'm aware. I'll work it out. Over how many lifetimes? He stood, moving around the desk. You don't have that kind of money, Desi Jane, and I won't waive the fee. Then I'll be in debt, but I need to leave. Why? The question was quiet, dangerous. Because I didn't sign up for this life, didn't sign up for gunfire and security details, and I stopped. And what? He was close now. Too close. And you, I said honestly. I didn't sign up for you. Something flickered in his eyes. Then leave. I blinked, surprised. What? Leave, if you can pay the penalty. Go, I won't stop you. He was calling my bluff. We both knew I couldn't pay $1.7 million. Release me from the contract, I said quietly. Just let me go. No. Why not? My voice rose. Why are you keeping me here against my will? Why? Because you don't want to leave, he interrupted. Not really. You don't know what I want. Don't I? He stepped closer, backing me against the glass wall overlooking Busan's skyline. You want safety. You want purpose. You want to be valued for your mind, not judged for your appearance. You want someone to see you, really see you, and choose you anyway. His hand braced beside my head, not trapping, just close. And that terrifies you, because you've spent your whole life being underestimated, and now someone sees exactly what you're worth. Tears burned my eyes. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. His voice softened slightly. I don't love you. The words were calm, controlled, each one deliberate. I don't do love. Love is weakness. Love is the vulnerability that gets you killed in my world. My chest ached. Then what is this? Possession, he said simply. I possess you, your time, your skills, your presence, your... He stopped, jaw clenching. Your safety. And you think I'm just okay with being possessed. I think you understand it. I think part of you craves it. His other hand came up, fingers hovering near my face, but not touching. I think you're not running from possession, Desi Jane. You're running from what it means. And what does it mean? I whispered. He hesitated. For the first time since I'd met him, Seo Joon-Hwan looked uncertain. It means you make me unstable. It means every carefully constructed wall I've created, you destabilize all of it. So the question became, what did Desi Jane choose? The safety of distance, or the danger of staying with a man who didn't know how to love, but would die protecting her anyway? Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't the person you possess, it's realizing you don't want them to let go. Two days later, The choice was made for me. They took me to send him a message. Professional, brutal, efficient. I'd been reviewing contracts in a coffee shop near the office, one of the few places Joon-Hwan's security let me go alone, thinking it was safe enough, public enough. I was wrong. They were better. The injection came from behind, fast-acting sedative. By the time I realized what was happening, the world was already blurring. I woke up in a warehouse, cold concrete floor, hands zip-tied behind my back, the distinctive smell of rust and abandonment. 3 men stood over me, professional, not random kidnappers. This was calculated. One of them pulled out a phone, started recording. "Seo Joon-Hwan," the man said in accented English, clearly for my benefit. "You took our territory, destroyed our operations, so we're taking something of yours. The black woman, the financial analyst, the one you've been protecting so carefully." He turned the camera to me. "Tell him, girl. Tell him Park Hyun-woo has you now." I stayed silent, defiant. The man backhanded me. Not hard enough to cause serious damage, just enough to make the point. Blood trickled from my split lip. "Send the video," Park ordered. "Let's see how much she's worth to him." I didn't know what to expect. Negotiation? A tactical team? Radio silence while professionals handled it? What I got was Seo Joon-Hwan walking through the warehouse door alone 30 minutes later. No backup, no security team, no tactical gear, just him in his black suit, gun in hand, and an expression that made my blood run cold. Not angry, calm, the kind of calm that preceded annihilation. "You came," Seo said, sounding pleased. "Alone. Foolish. Where is she?" Joon-Hwan's voice was quiet, empty. "Alive, for now, but that depends on you." "Let me see her." Park gestured, and I was dragged into view. Our eyes met across the warehouse. Something passed between us. Understanding, trust. "I'm okay," I called out, wanting him to know, wanting him to be smart, to call backup, to not do anything stupid for me. But Seo Joon-Hwan had stopped being smart the moment he saw the video of me bleeding. "You want territory?" he asked Park calmly. "Take it. You want money? Name the price. You want my operations? I'll transfer them." Park laughed. "That easy? The great Seo Joon-Hwan surrendering?" "For her?" Joon-Hwan's eyes never left mine. "Yes, that easy." My heart stopped. "You're worth more than empire," he said, and I realized he wasn't talking to Park anymore. He was talking to me. "More than territory, more than everything I've built. So yes, I'll surrender it all. Just let her go." Park's smile widened. "What if I don't want your surrender? What if I just want you dead?" "Then kill me," Joon-Hwan said simply, "but let her walk out first." "No," I shouted. "Don't." "Quiet," Park snapped. Then everything happened at once. Joon-Hwan moved, not toward Park, toward me, covering my body with his as gunfire erupted. But it wasn't Park shooting, it was backup. Joon-Hwan's security team crashing through windows and doors, taking out Park's men with precision. He hadn't come alone. He'd been the distraction while his team got into position. Brilliant, tactical, and absolutely terrifying. Because when the gunfire stopped, when all of Park's men were dead or subdued, Joon-Hwan stayed covering me, his body a shield, his breathing heavy. And Desi Jane understood. He'd walked into certain danger for her, had offered to surrender everything for her, had covered her body with his while bullets flew. And if that wasn't love, then possession was the most devoted thing she'd ever experienced.
After the warehouse, I stayed. Not because the contract bound me, not because I didn't have options, but because I chose to. Joon-Hwan and I didn't talk about what happened, didn't analyze his confession that I was worth more than his empire. We just existed in this strange space between employer and owned, between protector and possession. But I needed clarity, needed to understand what I was to him, what this was. So 2 weeks after the rescue, I went to his penthouse, used the private elevator he'd given me access to, walked into his space, minimalist, cold, perfectly controlled like everything about him, and found him standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at Busan's nighttime skyline. "I'm giving you an ultimatum," I said without preamble. He turned, raised an eyebrow, that tiny crack in his otherwise impassive expression. "Go ahead." "Release me from everything, the job, the contract, the possession, all of it." Silence. "Or what?" "Or I stay, willingly, completely, no more half measures, no more pretending this is just employment." His eyes narrowed. "You're asking me to choose between letting you go and keeping you prisoner." "No, I'm asking you to choose between releasing me or accepting that I'm choosing you." The distinction made him pause, made him really look at me. "Why would you choose this?" he asked quietly. "Choose a life with someone who admits he possesses you, not loves you?" "Because possession is honest," I said. "You don't lie about what you are. You don't pretend to be soft when you're steel. You don't promise forever when you deal in absolute certainty. You told me you don't love, but you took a bullet for me, walked into an ambush for me, would have surrendered your empire for me." I stepped closer. "Maybe you don't call it love, but it's devotion, it's loyalty, it's possession," he finished. "Is that enough for you?" he asked. "I don't want normal," I said honestly. "I want you, all of you, the cold calculation, the protection, the possession, the absolute certainty that you've decided I'm yours and nothing will change that." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "If you stay, if you choose this, you need to understand what it means." "Tell me." "It means I own your time, your presence, your safety. I'll control your environment to protect you. I'll eliminate threats before you even know they exist. I'll make decisions about your security that you might not agree with." He paused. "It means you belong to me in every way that matters, except the romantic one." "I understand." "And you accept that?" "Do you?" I countered. "Do you accept that I'm choosing this? That I'm not a victim or a captive or something you forced into submission? That I'm standing here, fully aware of what you are, and deciding that possession by you is better than freedom from you?" The vulnerability that flashed across his face was almost painful to witness. "I don't deserve that choice," he said quietly. "Probably not," I agreed, "but I'm giving it to you anyway." He moved then, crossed the space between us in 3 strides. His hands came up to frame my face with a tenderness that contradicted everything I knew about him. "I can't love you the way you deserve," he said quietly. "You can't love me the way most people define it," I corrected, "but the way you define it, possession and protection and absolute certainty, that's enough." Then Seo Joon-Hwan, the man who never loved, who possessed instead of worshipped, who controlled instead of cared, kissed me, claimed me, made real what had been inevitable from the moment I walked into his world. And Desi Jane learned that love comes in different languages, and sometimes possession is the most devoted language of all.
I still don't love you, he murmured against my lips. I know. I possess you. I know. And you chose this anyway. Yes. He pulled back slightly, looking at me with something that might have been wonder if Seo Joon-Hwan were capable of such soft emotions. Then stay, he said, voice rough. Stay and be mine, completely, willingly. On one condition. His lips curved, almost a smile. You don't negotiate. Learn, I said. What condition? You don't call it possession anymore. You call it what it actually is. And what is it? Partnership, I said. Unequal, maybe. Unconventional, definitely. But partnership. You protect me, I anchor you. You make me safe, I make you human. He considered this, then slowly, deliberately, he nodded. Acceptable. What followed was a kiss that sealed more than just physical desire. It was a contract, a claiming, an agreement between two people who'd found something real in the most unconventional way. When we finally broke apart, both breathing heavy, he pressed his forehead to mine. You make me unstable. Good, I replied. You need someone who does. I've restructured my entire existence around you. I know. I can't promise you romance, soft words, traditional love. I don't want traditional. What do you want? This, I said simply. You, exactly as you are, possession and all. Something in his expression softened, just slightly, just enough. Then you have it, all of it, forever. The word forever hung between us, absolute, certain, the way Seo Joon-Hwan made all his decisions, with complete conviction and zero room for doubt. 3 months later, my life had completely transformed. I still worked for Seo Group Holdings, still lived 3 floors below Joon-Hwan's penthouse, though I spent most nights in his space now. The arrangement was unconventional. We weren't dating in any traditional sense. He didn't take me on romantic dinners or buy me flowers or say I love you when we woke up tangled together. But he did other things. He installed a security network so sophisticated that I could probably walk through a war zone safely. He memorized my coffee order, my schedule, the exact temperature I liked the apartment. He restructured his entire meeting schedule to ensure he's never traveling when I might need him. When I just mentioned feeling unsafe in a particular neighborhood, he bought the building, renovated it, increased security, made it safe. He still called it possession. I let him, because I'd learned that possession was just his word for devotion, for the absolute certainty that I was his priority, his weakness, his one variable that trumped everything else. And honestly, that felt safer than any promise of love ever could. "6 months into our unconventional partnership, I'm sitting in Joon-Hwan's penthouse reviewing financial reports because even in our relationship, work is part of our dynamic, when he says something unexpected. I'm building you an exit strategy. I look up, surprised. What? An exit strategy. Offshore accounts in your name, properties, investments. If something happens to me, if you need to disappear, you'll have resources. Why would I need that? Because I'm a realist. My world is dangerous, and while I'll do everything to protect you, I need to know you're protected even if I can't be there. It's the most caring thing disguised as cold practicality I've ever heard. That sounds like you care, I tease gently. I possess, he corrects, but his lips curve slightly. There's a difference. Is there? He sets aside the reports, pulls me into his lap with that possessive certainty that used to frighten me, but now feels like home. I don't have the words you want, he admits quietly. I can't say I love you and mean it the way other men do. I can't promise you romance or softness or normal. I know, but I can promise you're the most important thing I'll ever possess, that I'll structure my entire life around keeping you safe, that anyone who threatens you faces obliteration. I lean my forehead against his. That's your version of a love confession, isn't it? It's the only version I have. Then it's enough. And it is, because Seo Joon-Hwan doesn't love, he possesses, but his possession is absolute, devoted, the closest thing to unconditional his carefully controlled heart can offer. Last week, a rival organization made threats, implied they'd target me to get to him. His response was swift, brutal. By morning, that organization no longer existed. When I asked if it was necessary, he simply said, "You're mine. Threats to what's mine don't get warnings, they get eliminated." I should probably be horrified, should probably question my sanity for accepting this life, but I'm not, because I understand him now, understand that his possession isn't about control, it's about care wrapped in the only language he knows. My mother visited last month, flew in from the States, worried about her daughter involved with a dangerous Korean businessman. Joon-Hwan met her, was polite, respectful, showed her the security measures, explained in his cold, factual way exactly how he ensures my safety. At the end of the visit, my mother pulled me aside. "Does he love you?" she asked. I thought about it. Not in the traditional sense. But in his sense? I smiled. Yes, completely. She squeezed my hand. Then that's enough, baby. They still whisper about Seo Joon-Hwan in the streets of Busan, the ruthless CEO who never showed weakness, who built an empire on calculated decisions and absolute control. But what they don't see, what they can't see, is the man who comes home every night to a black woman who's become the center of his carefully constructed universe, who checks on me multiple times a day, who's restructured his entire existence around my safety and happiness, who doesn't say "I love you," but proves it with every single action. So my beautiful souls, tell me, where are you watching from right now? Drop your country flag in the comments. And here's the real question. Do you think Joon-Hwan's actions prove love, even if he won't say the words? Comment possession if you think his protection is really devotion, or comment love if you think he should just admit he loves her. And hit that like button if you think Desi made the right choice staying with him. If this story touched you, if it showed you that unconventional relationships can be just as valid, that love doesn't have to fit a mold, that protection and possession can be devotion, share it. Share it with someone who's been judged for their relationship choices. Share it with someone who loves differently. Share it with anyone who needs to hear that their version of love is valid, even if it doesn't look like everyone else's. This story of Desi Jane and Seo Joon-Hwan, of a black woman and a possessive Korean CEO, of unconventional devotion disguised as control, it's proof that we don't all express love the same way. Some of us say it, some of us show it, and some of us possess it so completely that letting go becomes impossible. Until next time, remember, love languages are diverse. Devotion looks different on everyone, and sometimes the most powerful love is the one that can't say the words, but proves it every single day through actions. Stay safe, stay loved in whatever form that takes, and I'll see you in the next video. This is your storyteller, reminding you that possession by the right person isn't a cage, it's a fortress. Much love.